Many sales bots do one thing. They might reply, they might schedule. But with an agent, you can build a flow. So you can say, hey, if somebody who is a prospect in Salesforce emails, the agent can then check the CRM. It could, one, obviously draft a write-up. It could escalate something. You could say, hey, Jake, you should probably send this to your leader. It could immediately enrich with a third-party trend. You could create an agent that says, hey, if a prospect that emails me, I want you to then go and find 3 publicly available insights about that company that are relevant to what we do, and then feed that back to me in Slack. You could do that today.
AI-powered seller.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to a very special edition of the AI-powered seller. I am your host, Jake Dunlap. Really excited for you all to join. Very, very big news on Monday. If you did not see it, OpenAI in their dev day, they actually announced this dev day quite a bit, I think back in June maybe. But this dev day turned out to be a lot more than I think what a lot of people thought was happening. And yeah, I like to describe what OpenAI rolled out. It's, think about like you're a conductor of an orchestra. Okay, there's hundreds of instruments. They're all playing in time, all contributing to this beautiful symphony. Now imagine that orchestra is your sales org. And your data systems, your sales tools, your CRM, quoting, follow-up, cross-functional, customer support, all of those things are now humming together. That the person conducting can be you as an individual seller. It can be you as a sales leader. And this whole concept of being able to bring all these systems together in a way that wasn't this like data lake of this and oh my gosh, we've got to spend 2 years to clean up our data, seemed impossible. But on Monday, it became possible, and within one tool. Now, for a lot of you who might be more advanced, there's tools, workflow automation, workflow connecting tools like N8N and Make and Zapier, even Workato, like you name it. These tools have been around for a little bit, but there's something really special about AgentKit, which is what was announced and launched on Monday, that I think is going to have a massive impact on all sellers out there. It is also really exciting. So we have our AI certification program jumping off. Make sure to teach you how to build in the new tool as well too, or Make, if you have another tool that you want to use, we can help you there. But this to me was really a wake-up call for anybody in sales. These tools are becoming easy. They're becoming so integrated that not using them is almost, it's like I'm going to keep using the yellow pages when the internet exists. Or I'm going to keep reading books when I can go to a search engine. I really feel like this concept of what goes into being an innovative seller and an AI-powered seller has really changed. And for all my ChatGPT users, it's changed for you in a very big way. So let me start with the gist, okay? AgentKit, okay, is their answer. It's a complete set of building blocks that's going to help you take agents from prototype to production. In this demo, it's pretty crazy. We'll link to the demo as well, too. They built 2 automations in 8 minutes. They connected multiple systems and built autonomous agents in 8 minutes. And that's why when a lot of you hear this stuff, you might originally go, Jake, I'm never going to build in a workflow tool. I don't need to know this. My tech team does. No, there are many, many salespeople, who are understanding how to build these things. There are many, many people out there that are realizing the future is now. The future is in these types of tools. And if I don't learn how to use these tools, I am going to be left behind. So let's talk about what goes into AgentKit. The first is Agent Builder. It's this visual tool. Think of it like a Canva for agents, where you design the logic and workflow. If you've seen an N8N, you're saying, okay, the first is this webhook that pulls in data from Salesforce. Then it goes to this agent that does account research and prep. And then it goes to this one from Gong and pulls in the call. And then it combines the new call prep and research with the Gong and then pipes it back to Salesforce. That's just an example of one of these workflows. The next is a chat kit. What does a chat kit do? Well, it allows you to turn any of these into your own like little mini app. So like, let's say if you're a rep and you're tired of sending out recap emails, you can then, have not only the automation, but you could also have a little chat where it chats you and says, do you like this output? And you're like, nah, make it a little more like this. It's like, okay, great. And now I'll send it for you. So the ability to go back and forth in a chat environment is huge. This is pretty crazy. Okay. This is where we start to get a little meta, which is evals for agents. These are tools that evaluate the quality of the agents themselves. So think step-by-step trace grading of like the different instructions, prompt optimization, data set evaluation. So literally the tools now can evaluate each other as you build it. And then obviously this kind of connector registry where, I can kind of pull together all the different third-party APIs or get access to other APIs. So these tools, these no-code tools have been around for a little bit. The issue has been, and why this is such a big deal, you used to kind of understand a little bit how to use these. Maybe the APIs weren't that good, but the fact that this is really kind of moving everything into not just reactive chat or prompt-based chat, but truly multi-step actions that are being coordinated across systems, that is the next level. My big takeaway for everyone is to think about this concept of where we are today. We're moving away from this world where we ask AI to do something to a world where AI does things for us. And that is where I feel like if you're in sales, I'm going to talk through what I think are 3 very, very relevant use cases for you that you as an individual rep, yes, you are 22 years old. You are sitting there. You are trying to figure out how to optimize your day-to-day. You can be doing this. I did a version of this. Okay, let me tell you the back in the day version of this. When I was just out of college, I was 23, and I ended up at a professional sports team in baseball. They had an inbounds sales loop. And what would happen is if you were on a call, it would skip you and go to the next person. And so I was already one of the top 2 performers on the team. And at the end of the season, I went in, and again, I was not like a math wizard, but what I was is I love stats. And so what I went and did is I went and analyzed every single inbound call sale and what time of day it happened. And I found these pockets really early morning, about 11 o'clock, about 2 o'clock, like 4:10, these little pockets of 20, 30 minutes where nobody called in. And so by using the data, I realized, well, why don't I just make all my calls then? and that began everyone else's week from hell, where I just sat there and I was doing my emails, I did my follow-ups, and then it would be Tampa Bay Rays, this is Jake. Next one, Tampa Bay Rays. So they kept making calls and kept making calls, and I just let the phone loop skip all the way around to me. Then I made all my calls during the times whenever somebody didn't call in. And after about 2 or 3 days, people figured this out. And I went and I showed them the scatter plot. I showed them what I had done. What do you think people did? Do you think they're like, oh, wow, okay, that makes sense, Jake. That's database. I should do that. The answer is no. They kept just doing it. And so eventually, like over a week, they like changed the phone system, which is fine. But, it's a good example. I had to do that by hand. I had to pull in CRM data, normalize it into some type of Excel, look for the patterns, etc. But now with these type of orchestrations, I could literally have built that agent in like 30 minutes. And not only that, it would have probably been even more precise. It's like, oh, Jake, also you should do like a 10-minute call block here or a 5-minute there. So that for me, I have always been the type of frontline seller who is always looking for ways to, get ahead and to continue to outperform by still working extremely hard. And so if you're a frontline seller and you're like, well, Jake, this seems interesting, I'm telling you, my friends, this is interesting to you because this can be your game changer. This can be your 2 to 3xer. And so I want to try to give you maybe 3 tactical examples of the types of autonomous agents that you could build. One, you could do what I just said. If you're on an inbound loop or something like that, you could try to build that one. Like, okay, webhook into my Salesforce, runs through this agent that's looking for this type of data, build it out into a table, etc. So you could build that one. So the thing that I would think about is automating personalized orchestration across tools. Okay, And these are the types of agents that could coordinate across CRM, email, calendar, and maybe like your conversational intelligence, right? So many sales bots do one thing. They might reply, they might schedule. But with an agent, you can build a flow. So you can say, hey, if somebody who is a prospect in Salesforce emails, the agent can then check the CRM. It could, one, obviously draft a write-up. It could escalate something. You could say, hey, Jake, you should probably send this to your leader. It could immediately enrich with a third-party trend. You could create an agent that says, hey, if a prospect emails me, I want you to then go and find 3 publicly available insights about that company that are relevant to what we do, and then feed that back to me in Slack. You could do that today, right? In AgentKit, you can do this. Think about number 2, real-time contextual like escalation / assist, right? An agent could observe one of your activities and suggest or perform actions proactively. So the agent's watching a live deal. It sees that, there's rules in place. There's only one person and you've had 3 meetings, for example. There hasn't been any type of interaction in the last 5 days, something like that. And then immediately escalate, immediately Slack you. Hey, what's up, Jake? Just so you know, you haven't had an email from Tim. You might want to follow up, right? That's a really big one. And last, but certainly not least, is just the ability to continue to scale yourself. I can see a world where, like, let's say the things that I do over and over again, let's say, again, I mentioned follow-up emails, but let's say I also have to create proposals. What I might do is as I continue to try to optimize and scale myself, is say, hey, initial Zoom API pulls in a call recording from my number specifically. I then say, hey, here is my statement of work, or how I like to structure my statements of work. I then process that. I then push back a couple of clarifying questions to Slack. So using the builder back to Slack, I clarify, and then it spits out a Google Doc with a version 1 of the statement of work. Again, scaling yourself. Okay, so when I think about, this type of world, if you are a top seller, this is what you have to do. If you want to know how to do this stuff, make sure to sign up for our certification program. But again, 8 minutes. Literally in the demo, they built 2 of these things in 8 minutes. And I do want to hit on the challenges here too, that maybe some things and risks that I want for you all to watch for as well too. Blind optimism, and this is going to do everything, is not true. You want to make sure that we're keeping the human touch. So that's why, again, you're not hearing me talk about a lot of like automated emails. Now, look, hey, create trigger if, propose email equals proposal type to type up a draft that I can then potentially send. I'm all for that. Have it type up a draft and then, go ahead and, try to make it a little more personalized, the situation for sure. But again, make sure you think about, it'd be great if a workflow could do that, but a machine, might not, do as good as I could do, etc. Another thing is to understand that as APIs change, you're going to have to adjust things. So, maybe one of your connection tools, they change their API. Sometimes they degrade, sometimes they update their logic, and so things flow differently. But again, make sure that you're staying on top of some of those things as well. And number 2 is the time that it's going to take you up front to invest in this. And I don't really think that that's a risk. I think it's a risk for the people that don't invest in it. And so if I was a rep, I was sitting in your shoes. This is, I don't really know if there's anything that's come about to where I could actually double or triple my output. And this is no bullshit. This isn't, oh yeah, maybe I could get a little better. This is double to triple my output than this. So that's what I've got, man. That is my quick little recap for you on OpenAI's Dev Day. I want you to think this concept, a couple key takeaways I want you all to run with is, number 1, agent infrastructure is the next wave of automation. We're moving from bots and APIs to autonomous agents, tools that reason and act. And AgentKit is a major kind of out-of-the-box enabler, especially if you're a ChatGPT fan. These workflows, number 2, the ability to orchestrate, assist, and iterate on these different workflows are literally going to allow people to 2 to 3x themselves. And 3, is the time to experiment is now. Early adopters are going to gain a massive competitive, and not only competitive, compounding advantage. You as a seller are going to be able to experiment and start to realize the art of possible. And as the next thing comes out, you're like, I already know what to do with that. I already know what to do with that. And you as a rep are truly going to be in a different class as the rest of your sellers. So that's what I've got hot off the press, just from Monday. And again, I want you to think about, the orchestra, right? The conductor, that AgentKit and tools like it, are going to be the conductor force behind your revenue machine, right? And you actually have an opportunity as the seller to be the conductor. You have the opportunity to orchestrate these things together in a way that's not super techy. And I think that that's what stopped a lot of sellers. And that's what stopped us from moving forward is like, oh, it's technical. I don't know about this. Well, guess what? In today's day and age, you don't need to be that technical to build a lot of these out. And the first movers are going to have massive, massive advantage. So that's a quick hitter for you on this Wednesday. Make sure to forward this along to your teams. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Sign up for the next one. If you're listening, make sure you go get in front of your computer immediately. We will put some links so you can go check out other summaries as well. But I want all of you to realize, whether you're a ChatGPT fan or not, the concept of what we're talking about, of agents and workflows working across tools, is the future. And it's time to get up to speed and make sure you tune in every single week to the AI-powered seller, where I do my absolute best to bring you what I think is the most relevant AI news for everyone in sales. Make sure, if you want more hands-on support, you want to nerd out on this, sign up for our AI certifications. They kick off in a few weeks. I promise you, and I've said this again, if you do not leave that course saying, Jake, this has changed my life, 100% money back guarantee. 100%. Right. And we're going to build on what I just talked about as well, too, which is really cool. Brian, our AI lead, was telling me, he's like, Jake, I think we should do this in the AI agent kit. I was like, I'm good with that. So that's what I got, everybody. Appreciate you tuning in. Thank you, as usual, for the support, the comments, the DMs. I appreciate it more than you know. And make sure to share with your teams. And I hope it was, helpful and actionable for you on a Wednesday. Have a great rest of your week, everybody.